Every episode celebrates original content written by real people who experience real emotions. I'm Rayanne Thorne-Kruger. Welcome to Real Words. When I think of the ultimate content creator, I think of my guest. Jessica Miller-Merrell has been creating content for a very long time. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Thank you. I love your calming intro. It's so
Oh.
I feel like I am in a Zen space.
Oh, good. Well, don't fall asleep. Maybe we can do a little yoga later. I don't know, but thanks for joining me. It's so wonderful to have you here, especially with what's happening right now in our world and in our time. And I have a couple of questions that will apply to that. But before we get going, please introduce yourself. I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but introduce yourself anyway.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Jess, and I'm the founder of Workology, a former HR practitioner turned entrepreneur, and I provide online training and resources for human resources professionals. And I'm also a yoga and meditation teacher too. So I love learning and I love sharing what I learn, and I'm excited to reconnect with Rayanne and honored to be on her show.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to have you here. I think I would have to look up how many webinars we did together, but we probably did several webinars and a couple of podcasts way back when podcasting wasn't even cool. So there you have
That's
it.
true.
When did you, Jessica, when you think about your history as a content creator, writer, digital writing in particular, when did you first start writing digitally?
Very early, like 2005, was when I first started a version of my blog that you see today. I really love the internet and was looking for a way to differentiate myself as an HR practitioner and express myself. Those were the early days of social media. Facebook was just getting started. We had MySpace and online forums and different communities.
And your first iteration of Workology, well, I don't know if it's your first one, was called Blogging for Jobs. So folks that are listening might remember you from Blogging for Jobs. And how did you get to a place where you became so prolific? I know that at one point you had probably 12 or 13 writers for you, maybe even more. I can't remember exactly,
I
but
have no
I
idea.
was one of those writers, and it was such an honor to be a part of that. So how did you come to this place where you could just write? I mean, I remember being with you at a conference and you were writing a blog while we were sitting in a session. So how did that happen for you?
So I feel like when I found blogging and really found my voice, it's like this creative stream just opened up in terms of I could share what I was learning and what I knew. I kind of feel like I found myself in a lot of ways, and it was an opportunity to share with others, to connect, and have a voice. I feel like even still, HR practitioners often don't have a voice for themselves. It's the narrative and conversations are being controlled by people who support or generate revenue in the HR space. And so this was a time when I could connect with other people who just wanted to share and train and support. I love making content. I feel like it's such an interesting space and it changes all the time. Like when we first connected, it was blogging and Twitter. It is a completely different ballgame now.
Right.
You have a lot of video, TikTok, those sort of things that are out there just to connect with different people in our community.
And I can remember it was probably maybe 2 or 3 years ago that I first heard the term content creator. And when I heard that, I went, where's Jessica? This has got to be, this is definitely a job title for Jessica. You definitely are so prolific when it comes to creating content and having that content be engaging and fearless. I mean, I feel like you are an example of somebody who has so much confidence and just you really are fearless in the content you create. So thank you for that. Thank you for being an example for other content creators, and especially in our space. our space. I don't know if I'm still in the space.
You
it's
are.
a weird
You
time.
are.
But when you think of the HR industry, HR technology, SHRM, all of these things that have gone on within HR and HR tech for the last 20 years, there aren't many that have been producing content for that entire time. And you are one of those people. So thank you for being that. Thank you for the example that you set, and for being fearless. You truly are. And I don't know if anybody's told you that, but I've always thought that. I think that you are incredibly gifted with how prolific you can be, and the quality of the content you produce, the way that you can draw people in and entice them to participate and produce content as well. So thanks for being that example in the HR and HR tech space. So when you think about all that you've done to get to where you are, right? All that you've done, all these multiple different avenues that you've done. The Before we get away from HR, this is what I want to ask you about. Is recently SHRM announced that they're dropping the E in DEI. I have a few choice words about this, and I don't know if it's a right forum for me to spew some of my political rhetoric, which I am sometimes want to do. So I would love to ask you, as somebody who writes about SHRM and is responsible for creating content that allows people to be certified, SHRM certified, what are your thoughts about that?
Oh man, it's. I feel like there's so many things that Sherm does right that I am in agreement with, and then there's so many things that I am not in alignment with, and I definitely not in alignment with this choice, especially as a woman. Even though I am a white woman, I'm still a woman, and I feel like equity is incredibly important, not only for myself, but for so many of my friends and colleagues and peers. And removing that just says to me, it's just another example of how divisive and disconnected I think many people are from what's important to not the collective, but a lot of groups who have been ignored and not been invited to the conversation. So I I will be continuing to include E in DEI. I also include A in my DEI conversation. A is for accessibility because that includes another group of people who don't necessarily always have access through technology tools and resources, but we as human beings benefit from that. Particularly people with disabilities. So I don't understand the move in this area, but I think if you are not in agreement, share that you aren't. And if you're a SHRM member, share with SHRM or email SHRM, call
Right.
SHRM, tweet SHRM, let them know that this isn't reflective of you as an HR professional and or you as a member or non-member, whatever. To let them know. Just like I would encourage you to participate in the upcoming election wherever you stand. You know, get
Right.
registered to vote. I just sent my parents information on absentee ballots because my dad is going to be having a medical procedure maybe during that time, and so I want to make sure that he can participate and my mom can participate in our democratic processes.
Great. Thanks, Jessica, for commenting on that. I hadn't prepped you for that, so I really appreciate you commenting. By the way, Sheni Rut says hello. So
Oh, yeah.
she's commented a bit. Let's see. So with all of your online digital writing, you've also, and your title for our podcast was author and entrepreneur. You're a serial entrepreneur, and my leap into the intro for this podcast. Uh, I recall a conversation that you and I had, and since we are not in trouble for anything that we say on this show, I have to share this. You and I were, I think we were just brainstorming ideas, and I think we were even in the car, but it continued from the car into a party or a conference. You said to me, I shit ideas. And that has stuck in my head for that was at least I think that was 15, 14, 15 years ago
A
when you
long
when
time
you shared
ago.
that. It was a
Yeah.
long time ago. And I think we even said we need shirts that say we need shirts that say this because you are so you can ideate better than anybody that I know. And so for you to go from the digital writing and then write books, I think you've got a couple under your belt now. And the last
Mhm.
one was published by Sherm, Digitizing Talent. Thank you for the work that you've done there. But how has it been different to go from writing online, either a blog post or microblogging on the social platforms, to writing a novel or a book?
Well, the good news is that when you write online and you're writing about the same topic, like you already have your outline almost created. So we really pulled a lot of inspiration from existing content, podcast interviews, things that were already created. From my perspective, it was just expanding on those ideas. So I did spend a lot of time researching, pulling research citations from other places to expand on those topics and ideas. But when you're a content creator, you can pull from existing content, which is, I mean, if you look at the citations in the book and everything that I pull from, I already had a lot of it written. In fact, the book originally was a presentation that I first did at Sherm Talent, I think like 8, 10 years ago. So it was just iterations of more information, more resources, expanding on that, getting feedback from other people before it became the book that it is. And I wanted it to be, in my mind, the most comprehensive resource on online or digital recruiting that existed. There's a lot of information on job boards. There's a lot of information about social media, but there isn't one place that covers all of the digital space. And so that's what the book was for me. It was kind of like all this work since first using the internet to recruit from on dating websites, and then using forums, starting my blog and all this stuff, and then collecting all this information. So it was kind of like the culmination of all my career in a book, in a place that people can be able to access and learn about internet recruiting, e-recruiting back in the day.
Right, right. Did you get frustrated in the process? Because when you are so good at something like blogging, right? You're so good at it and it's easy for you because you've been doing it for 15, 20 years, right? It's blogging is easy for you. I don't want to say it's easy
It's
because it's not.
easier.
And
I've done
sometimes
it more times than others.
right, that's what I mean. You have the experience that it's something that you can do with ease. Did you get frustrated in the process of putting this book together that it didn't wasn't as easy as producing digital content?
I think it's like the older and more experienced I've gotten, you learn to have a little bit more patience. And it's a lot like my yoga practice, right? Like I show up every day and I do yoga or I do an exercise or you meditate or whatever it is that you are passionate about. But change doesn't happen overnight. In my yoga, I didn't get suddenly great at yoga like on day 7. It is a culmination of all those things. And so I tried to approach the book that way. The nice thing about having a book is that you have an outline that you organize your content. So the book itself was actually created and was supposed to go out in 2020. So I already had it written. And then when we started to come out of the pandemic, everything was old and needed to be revised. So we revised it. I revised it again, and we double checked and made some updates and various things. So it was just really about like investing the time. And I would try to write like 2,000 words a day or some number like that
See,
for
you say
yourself.
that and it comes off as easy, right? And I mean, Ernest
It,
Hemingway
it,
had a practice that I follow, which is 500 words. He wrote 500 words a day. That was he was disciplined in that. So for you, of course, Jessica would write 2,000 words a day, and it probably. I don't want to say I hate to call it easy because it's not easy, but it is something that you are good at. That this is a talent for you, your ability to
people
produce.
have people have gifts. You might be really great at refinishing furniture. I have tried it. It's not my jam. I like to buy things on Amazon Market or on the Facebook Marketplace, but I don't follow through. I have something in my house from like 6 years ago that I still haven't finished, so maybe longer. But writing for me is like breathing. Like it just comes, it's very natural. Creating content is that way too. So it's sometimes it's hard for me to recognize and understand that like it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like very natural creating content, that it is challenging for others. Like I'm working on a new TikTok series right now, and it's like misconceptions of HR. So I have like a standard process where I kind of write like 20 different misconceptions, and then I create a series of content from it. I didn't realize for a really long time that that was unusual. It just comes very natural and innate to me, just making things. For me, I think the most challenging part is organizing my thoughts. And I've had to really create systems and processes to give myself space and time and a place to organize. If you would look over on the side of my wall over here, let me see if I can move my camera over. I have giant Post-it notes all over.
Right.
Those are my ideas. So
See, I
when
told
Rayanne
y'all.
says that
She has
I
ideas.
am shitting ideas, I need to put them somewhere. So I
Yeah.
put them on a Post-it note or in a Trello card or something, and they sit there. It doesn't mean I use all of them, but I at least have a place for them, because if I don't, I do experience a lot of anxiety around. Like I worry about my ideas. What am I doing? Am I going to forget them? What's happening? So at least if they're here, they're somewhere. And then I can choose from the best of all of these ideas which ones I want to
Right.
use, because I have made some adjustments to like my ability to create content. Like even though I probably could write 10,000 words a day, I don't. Like that's not healthy for
Right.
me,
Right.
and it becomes an obsession, and it isn't as much fun. So I focus on the best of the 100 ideas. Maybe I pick 3 of them, and then those are my areas of focus. So yeah, I
Then
know I do own the domain I Shit Ideas. I'm just gonna say I haven't done anything with it. I've had it for many years.
hey,
My web developer thinks it's hilarious. She
it's
was,
awesome.
yeah.
It's awesome, and it's something that's stuck with me. So it's recognizable and memorable. And on that same vein, you are probably one of the most recognizable people in HR tech, talent acquisition, SHRM, a content provider. One of the reasons why is because of the gorgeous hair that you have. Another reason is because you do shit ideas and you're everywhere. And so I'm wondering if that recognizability or that and I'll share a quick story. We were at walking into a SHRM party. I
Oh,
didn't know if you knew I was going to share this. I just thought of it right now
sorry.
when I thought of recognizing. We were walking into SHRM party together, and Jessica was mobbed. She was mobbed by 3 or 4 or 5, 6 young HR professionals. I would say they were in their early 20s that said, "Oh my gosh, you're blogging for jobs. You're Jessica Miller-Merrell." They wanted
My
her
groupie
autograph.
era.
They wanted swag. They followed her into the party. They were on their way
Mm.
out, and they decided they're going to go back in because Jessica was there. So you are very much recognized, and I love that you have used that recognizability for good, and also to start your digital yoga practice and are doing something completely new, and that speaks to your statement, which is that you're a learner, that you like to continually learn and to evolve. I feel like that's part of learning and unlearning, right? Is to have be in this state of evolution at all times. So, thank you for that. When you think about that and that era, your groupie era, what and what you've come through from being, I mean, if I remember the story correctly, you were fired as an HR director because you were blogging or because you
Mm-hmm.
were,
Yep.
okay,
Social media and blogging.
because you were using social media to recruit or to ideate, whatever it was. Um, so what do you think has been the greatest thing, practice, process, thing, production that you've done in for your career?
first thing I want to say is in my groupie era, it sounds great and that's a fun story, but I was not in a good place, like emotionally. I actually had a lot of self-esteem issues and didn't like feel like I deserved um, the credit or was worthy of people coming up and asking for my autograph. And so I had a lot of imposter syndrome. So I worked on myself for a really long time. I had a hard problem. Like it was an issue. Like I didn't feel like I deserved to be in the room or to be told that I was highly visible. Like I don't know why, but I just didn't see those things for myself. If I think about things that I've done and like what would be my greatest accomplishment, it's hard to pin my finger on one thing. Maybe I'll talk about like things that have my attention right now versus like my greatest accomplishment. I am really focused on online training, and maybe that would be my greatest accomplishment is like when I don't even know when this was, maybe about 10 years ago. There wasn't Kajabi or Teachable or any of those things. And so I took an existing learning management system that was really for internal, and we kind of made it into something. And so we offered free training for people to help get their HR certification, like recertification. And that's where Rayanne and I did many webinars talking about many different things and different topics. And the learning management system wasn't serving us anymore. And so I couldn't find anything that would work. So we actually made our own. And I took a WordPress program or a plugin, and we made it into a learning management system. So that's the Learn platform that you see today. I definitely don't make things easy on myself. I have my own full-time developer. I am dangerous, but not a programmer or coder, I would say. But I wanted to create a place for HR people to be able to learn on their own from real practitioners, sharing real stories and like best practices. So that would be something that you wouldn't know. Like if you log into our learning portal, you do not know that I wrote lots of lines of code. We made lots of changes and iterations over the course of the last 10 years. I think a lot of people are surprised when they log in and we have our own mobile app and we do all these things that it's a small team. I don't have a large group of people, but I wanted to create something that was accessible for HR practitioners. You don't have to be a big institution or organization to be able to make an impact in the community. You don't have to have a lot of money to be able to do that, but you have to be incredibly stubborn and probably obsessive and really passionate about helping to drive awareness, make change, whatever it is that you really truly love.
So this takes me to my next question that I want to ask you about. And technology is good. You and I have both benefited from technology. I became a marketer because I was using social media to recruit, similar to what you were doing, right? So technology has been really good for us. We're in a different time now, though, where technology can have an impact, positive or negative, on creativity. So I wanted to ask you about that, being somebody that is so creative and constantly developing ideas within yourself. And I've learned from other marketers that are, especially young marketers, who turned to AI instantly and started using AI for everything. And now they feel stunted, like their own, it's like a crutch that they cannot do anything without now. They're using it for everything. I'm part of a marketing group on Facebook, and invariably once a week somebody pops up and says, how do I spark my creativity again? I need to get away from using AI for everything. So with that in mind, and the work that you've done, all the digitizing that you've done in marketing yourself, marketing Workology, your training courses, your yoga journey, do you think that we are at risk of limiting or marring the creativity process because AI is so accessible?
I have spent a lot of time working with AI and understanding AI and experimenting with AI, I personally think that right now there's still a lot of opportunity for creativity, and I see that for the foreseeable future, because if we ask like ChatGPT, for example, for maybe 7 ideas and to write an article about e-recruiting best practices, right? And then you ask ChatGPT to write a similar article, it's going to be the same.
Right.
And it doesn't even mean that it's going to be 100% accurate, but it will be the same. And it doesn't, it, so if everybody's writing the same content or creating the same script for videos, the people that don't use those tools, or they modify them or find ways to still drive creativity, are going to stand out from the sea of sameness. It's kind of like the old days when you and I, Rayanne, as recruiters, would receive a attachment via a Word doc, and it was a resume that you and I knew that was using the Microsoft Word resume template. That's what's happening right now with AI, is that I can see and we can still experience it's the same content. It's the same kind of stuff. It's also like there's nothing wrong with AI tools to help even edit videos and make recommendations and do
Sure.
things.
Sure. Well, there's an AI function on StreamYard that
Yeah,
I'm
I
using right
mean,
now.
there's a lot of really good ones, and we
Right.
do some of that, but it still doesn't fully understand or comprehend everything that we're talking about, right? To make recommendations on video editing and various things. I also don't want my entire feed to just be a collection of AI generated video clips from a podcast either. So you have to have some variety. It's not
Right.
to say that some of those things aren't good. The content that we pull out of the transcript of this presentation will be amazing for a lot of different things, for a new idea generation. I just
Right.
think we have to look at the tools a little bit differently. They can help spark ideas, but they aren't the sole source of ideation or tools and resources. I would encourage young marketers, content creators, to find something that is completely analog, not using technology as a passion or a tool or a resource to be able just to enjoy. And that space away from the technology or whatever it is you're doing for your day job is going to make you more creative, because you're not involved in the deluge of technology. And for me, that's what my yoga is. Like, it is a safe space where I'm just me. I'm just in me. There's no judgment. There's no brain 1,000 miles an hour is telling me everything I can or cannot do. I'm not worrying about the content that I create. I don't do a yoga pose and go always, oh, I should make a video out of this. Now, if I am recording myself doing yoga, that's a different thing. But when I show up every day and I go to a class, like, it's just me and myself and I on the mat. And I think we need more of that to be able to bring more creativity to the content that we create as entrepreneurs, as marketers, as content creators for ourselves.
Right. Right. So if you could give any advice to a new writer, somebody that's getting ready to put a book together, or somebody that wants to start a blog or start creating TikTok videos, what advice would you give them?
So I had this whole like LinkedIn argument, spirited conversation, I guess, earlier this week about somebody who told me that blogging was dead. And I don't,
What? Uh,
they're a marketer for a big brand. I think blogging is dead when you're a soulless corporate entity that can't
yeah.
have any creativity.
Right.
But content creation is alive and well when you can make your own rules. So I still think that blogging is the best platform, because it's the one space that you own fully in control. So if you're self-hosted on your own website,
Right.
you are still in control of your own universe. And if TikTok decides to no longer be available and they delete their app from the app store, my blog will still be operational, and the courses and the content and everything on there will still be operational. Just like if Elon changes the game and says, if you want to post, you have to play, like you have to pay
Right.
over there
Right.
on X.
X, whatever it's called.
So at the end of the day, each platform can create a community, but it's still a funnel for me to drive to the ultimate destination. And I do think that it doesn't mean you have to be on every single platform to create content, but I think that I am not on every platform for the purpose of marketing stuff. So pick one that fits your space and build that. Like TikTok for me is a fun place because there's no HR tech people there. There's no recruiters or HR really there. And I can do whatever the F I want.
Right.
And people love it. Like the crappier you look, you haven't showered, you misspell text, like that's when your shit goes viral over there.
Right.
And no HR tech company is going to do that because they want to be in control of all the things.
Right.
So
The
I do think,
perfection, the image, having to be
yeah,
perfect,
no,
nothing should need editing. It should already be pre-edited and perfect before the public sees it.
that is like the individual solopreneur's superpower. And so a lot of my time I think, okay, where are the HR tech people, the people in my space that the marketer's not going to be? Like Reddit. I'm spending a lot of time on Reddit right now. I'm really enjoying it, just conversating, having chats and various things. But that's why I'm over on TikTok, because it's not something that the average HR technology company with a huge marketing team that's well funded or seed funded, VC funded, whatever, is going to be spending their time because they want to control the conversation. So I'm going to be in those spaces and places.
Bennett says creators rule. And then he also said that curiosity is the human superpower that AI will not eclipse. Let it synthesize data and let humans find new ideas. Or
that is true.
They can just
I love AI
turn
for
to
that.
Jessica. Yeah.
I love AI for that. Like AI, I can send it a spreadsheet of like amount of data and say, please analyze this for trends. It will send me the information back and it makes my time. I would have spent 20 hours reviewing that PowerPoint or that spreadsheet. Now I have 20 hours to spend creating content or doing nothing related to work, which is actually what I'm trying to spend more time doing, is getting away from work and enjoying myself in different things, reading books, walking, spending time with my kiddo.
Doing yoga, spending
That
time
too,
with yoga.
all the things.
So it's been such a pleasure, Jessica, to have you here on Real Words and talk about your experience and just the great things that you have going. What's next for you?
That's kind of where I am at. It's sort of a weird thing. So we have our HR certification prep courses. I have a Sherman HRCI certification prep. It's called ACE the HR exam. And then I have a program for recertification, which is called Upskill HR. But those are done. They're created. They're working. And now it's like, holy cow, what do I do now? Like, what do I create?
Something new.
So we're testing a few things, but one of the programs that I'm working on is a 12-week wellness training for companies, and just focused on introducing like just some wellness strategies, whether it's healthy living, meditation, or yoga into the mix. And we're beta testing this program with hopefully 3 or 4 companies this fall, where we meet with them over the course of 12 weeks and offer those kind of resources and trainings online. So who knows where we'll end up next, but that's where I've kind of been focusing my attention. Of course, I have 300 other things that I'm working on at the same time, but this one is the one that I'm most excited about.
So how can people find you and follow you?
Workology is the best place. Workology blog is normally what's on my socials. So that's where I'm over on TikTok. And it's super fun. I really love TikTok. I actually created a new TikTok yesterday, and I'm going to launch it and see what happens, just to kind of be fun, kind of break some rules, stay fresh. And that one is a yoga TikTok. So it's yoga for HR. There's nothing posted over there. But if you're like, I want to see what she's working on, it will be a lot of fun, because I don't really have a plan yet. But it'll evolve more wellness content than you would normally get in other places and spaces.
So were you born this way?
I think so.
This entrepreneurial thing, or did something happen in your youth that inspired you? And
I grew up in a really non-traditional family. My parents are hippies, and they don't live in an ashram or any of those kind of things. But I don't know. My parents wanted me to become a teacher and take a very traditional route. And of course, I ended up in human resources. And I don't know. I just got to a space where it wasn't serving me in the way that the corporate world I thought would. And so the nice thing about entrepreneurship is you're in control of your destiny, which is also terrifying, but you're in control of your destiny and you make the rules. And I am not a fan of restrictions or regulations, those kind of things. So I like to try to find the workaround to those kind of things. So that's why I enjoy entrepreneurship is there's no rules. You make your rules and then you move on to the next thing. But I can still be an entrepreneur and support the industry of human resources, which is
you've been doing that.
Yeah, it's what I know. It's what I know.
Well, congratulations on
Thank
all
you.
the great things and good luck with Yoga for HR. We'll definitely be watching it. I've been watching all of your yoga stuff now. I'm truly inspired by it. I personally cannot do yoga. I don't blame yoga, but I think that it had an impact on my hip joint, which I had to
Sure.
have replaced a year ago. So I'm cautiously leaning back into poses and holdings and breathing, and meditation has been my friend though. So I appreciate what you do, and I so admire you for your fearlessness and fierceness, both of those things. And we need more women like that. So thank you
We do.
for representing, and I appreciate you coming on Real Words today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
See you next time, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This episode was made possible by Never Enough Media.